What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I'm going to be answering your frequently asked questions. In this video, I'm going to be covering everything from Turo and how to run a profitable Turo business. I'm going to be talking about the CamperVan and what the current status of that CamperVan is, and I'm going to be covering some of your stimulus related questions. So let's get started. So let's just kick it right off with some stimulus related questions. So one question that I got a lot was, what year of taxes is being used to determine if you're eligible for the stimulus checks? Now, if you have your 2020 taxes filed, then it will be basing this information off of your 2020 taxes. But if you have not filed your 2020 taxes yet, which many people haven't, then it's being based off of your 2019 taxes. The next question is in regard to that $5,000 EIDL grant. Now, this is a question that I've received a lot on my videos. I've also been DM'd it on Instagram quite a lot as well. And it's not only just in regards to this $5,000 EIDL cash advance that's being offered through this $1.9 trillion stimulus package, but it's also on the topic of just the EIDL grant in general. And that is the question of, if you're somebody who never got the EIDL grant, can you still apply for the EIDL grant today in March of 2021? And the answer is no. As of right now, all EIDL grants, EIDL cash advances, are basically invite only, which means the SBA is not accepting open applications in order to try to get these grants. With that being said, you can apply for the EIDL loan, which is nowhere near as beneficial as the EIDL grant, but it is a decent alternative if you're somebody who is needing money quickly. So if you haven't applied for the EIDL loan yet, you can definitely do so. You just need to go to the SBA's website, fill out the application, provide the necessary documentation, and you should be good to go. The next question that I got a lot, and to be honest, I was happy to see this question being asked multiple times, was the question of, what is the current status of the CamperVan? And when is the CamperVan going to be completed? Or when am I going to publish a video on the CamperVan? Now, for those of you who don't know, last summer, my fiance and I bought a Ford Transit van with the goal of converting it into a CamperVan and then using that CamperVan as a revenue stream. The goal was, and still is, to list it on a platform like Outdoorsy or RV Share, which is basically like the peer-to-peer car sharing, but for RVs, camper vans, campers, and things like that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, the CamperVan is not going to plan, and really it just comes down to not having the time that I wish I had in order to work on it. You know, I bought the CamperVan in July, and the plan was to build out the CamperVan and to kind of have that CamperVan be a pretty big fixture on this channel. And right around that exact same time, my channel started blowing up with stimulus package content, and I started transitioning to daily videos covering like finance news, stimulus news, and just gig work and multiple revenue streams as a whole. So the channel shifted really around the exact same time that I had the plan to do the CamperVan. And at that time, I was only doing 2 videos per week. It was much less time consuming than it is now. So between all of the stuff that we have going on that I didn't really expect to be going on, it's definitely affected my ability to work on the van. Not to mention the fact that my sister just had a baby recently, and I've been helping her with the baby, and it's just, there's been a lot of shifts in my life over the last 6 months that have made it very difficult to work on the van, and this was something I just was not anticipating. With that being said though, over the last couple of months, it has become abundantly clear that I cannot work on all of these things on my own, and so I do have some stuff in the works to try to mitigate that and to try to outsource some of the things that I'm working on, but I can't talk about that right now because there's still some pieces that need to be worked out before it's official. But this, once it happens, will dramatically help us finish the CamperVan way quicker. So I think the new goal is probably to get it done by June, which like pains me to say. It is so annoying to think that it's gonna have been a full year after I bought it before it actually is finished, but you know, it is what it is. The van is still a project we're working on. We actually have made a lot of progress on it in the last couple of months since the last video was published. We are still recording content of the van. We just haven't posted a video on it in a while. So you guys will be updated on the van soon. I will still be documenting the progress on the van. The updates just won't be coming as frequently as I originally planned, but you can rest assured that you will see the van in its final form, and it will be being rented out on Outdoorsy in the next few months. The next question I got was, is there any books that I recommend regarding learning about stocks and learning about investing? Now, I wish that I was a reader, but I am simply not. I am horrible at reading, I'm very slow at reading, and I've desperately tried to get into the habit of reading over the last few years, and I just have not been able to get it to stick. I actually joined a book club this year as a way to try to motivate me to read books and to be accountable in reading books, and I haven't attended a single meeting and I haven't started a single book yet. So I'm probably not the best person to ask on book recommendations, but what I would use is just the internet. Investopedia is a really good resource. I remember whenever I was in high school, that's like my resource that I used whenever I was learning how to invest in stocks. Additionally, YouTube is an awesome source as well, and even kind of taking the concepts that are talked about on Investopedia and then searching them on YouTube and watching videos about it is a great place to start and learning how to invest in the stock market and really understanding what you're doing. That's almost exactly how I got started, and I think that it was a really great way to learn and a really great way to actually absorb what I'm learning rather than simply reading a book and not actually understanding what I'm reading. So that's the route that I would go on, but I'm not a great reader, so I am definitely more of that video type of person rather than that book type of person. Next is the question of what are alternative grants or loans from the PPP or from the EIDL cash advance? And really, I think that when it comes to alternatives other than these two mainstream options, one of your best bets would be to go for a local option. There are a lot of states, a lot of cities, a lot of counties that are offering grants to business owners, entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs who are struggling because of the pandemic. There is a lot of cities across the United States that are doing this, and it really is just a matter of searching and seeing if your city is doing this type of program, or your county, or even your state. Additionally, there are private companies that are also offering some sort of grant and loan program. Granted, none of these options are going to be as easy as the EIDL cash advance. I mean, that first EIDL cash advance that we got back in March of 2021 was like as easy as it could get. It was very easy to receive those funds. So don't expect for it to be quite as streamlined as that. But there are definitely options that you can turn to either on a local government level or even a private level through private companies. These are two really good options, and I would encourage you to look it up and just simply search your city, your state, and say like grants in Texas or grants in Dallas, Texas, and see what you come up with, because this is definitely a viable option. The next two questions are two Turo related questions. The first one is, what is my parking situation with Turo? And basically, how do I deal with having so many cars on the Turo platform, and how do I store those cars? Now, this is a question that I get all the time, and it's an interesting question because I always get it, and it's always in the context of like, well, how do you store so many cars? And the answer to that question is you don't. I mean, the goal is to have your cars out, to have them being rented out, and to not have them sitting in a parking lot. And so you never really have to deal with having all of your cars sitting in one spot for very long at all. The goal is to get them out on that next rental as quickly as possible, and because of that, parking is never really a big issue. With it being said, I do rent a commercial lot where I do store my cars. It's a lot that is very close to my house. It's super accessible, and that's where I store my cars whenever they're not being rented out. Now, in certain instances where I'll have like all my cars sitting at once, which has only happened one time, and that was during the pandemic last year when lockdowns were at their peak. I had all my cars sitting for like a few weeks and they didn't move at all. I actually kept some of my cars at the lot, and I kept some of the cars at my house, and I kept some of the cars at my parents' house. I didn't want all the cars sitting at one location in the case that they got damaged, they got vandalized, there was a storm. I wanted to kind of have them dispersed across the city. So that's what I did whenever I had to have all of my cars sitting. But again, this has only happened one time in my entire Turo career. The goal is to have your cars out, to have them making you money. And if they're doing that, then parking isn't an issue. The next Turo question is, how do I stay profitable after maintenance and insurance costs? And this is a really good question because this is a question, or this is a factor of the Turo business that can really make or break your profitability. When it comes to maintenance, I do the majority of maintenance myself with my fiance, HP. We very rarely take the cars to an actual shop, and whenever we do, we take them to a shop that we have a relationship with, and as a result, we pay them a discounted rate. So we have a really good relationship with a number of good mechanics. That way we can ensure that we get our vehicles fixed at a really fair price. So I would say probably 95% of the time we do the work ourselves. So in that case, we just buy the parts, and more often than not, we'll buy them from really good online retailers like Rock Auto is a great one to choose. issues. They have super cheap parts that are really good. You can also form company accounts with distributors like O'Reilly's or AutoZone, and you can get parts at a pretty steep discount, and we've done that as well. So this has allowed for us to maintain our vehicles at a cheap price. And whenever we do need to take our cars into a more skilled mechanic, we have that relationship so we know we're getting a fair price. Now, as far as insurance go, I insure my cars like to the lowest level that's legally allowed in Texas. This is because of the fact that my cars are always out on rentals and they're not driven unless they are going out on a rental. And whenever they're out on a rental, they are covered under Turo's insurance. So as a way to save on insurance costs, there's no need to have full-fledged comprehensive liability insurance. All you have to do is have the bare minimum that your state will allow, and that will differ from state to state. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending that this is the route that you go down. I think that insurance is a deeply personal choice, and it really is a matter of what you are using your cars for, how much they're being rented on Turo, and also what type of cars they are as well. So I'm not saying that this is a good route to go down for you. I'm just simply saying that this is the route that I've gone down. But I would encourage you to look up the laws with your state, and if you still aren't sure, you can always consult either an insurance agent, an attorney, or some sort of legal professional as well. I got a lot of questions regarding the child tax credit, as well as the EIDL grant program, the PPP program, housing efforts, and just basically all things this $1.9 trillion stimulus package. And the other day, I did do a very deep dive into the stimulus package. It's a really in-depth video going over a handful of the programs that are really beneficial to some of you that watch my videos. And so if you want some clarifications on things like the child tax credit, like stimulus checks, like housing efforts, things like that, then go to that video. I will leave a description to that video down in the description below. Go to that video, watch that video, and it should cover any of your questions. I don't want to cover them in this video because that will just be redundant and I'll be repeating a bunch of information I've already talked about before. So I highly recommend to check out that video. With that being said, you guys, I think that this covers a pretty good amount of the questions that I received over the last few days. I recommend to check out my latest video breaking down the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. The CamperVan is delayed, but is still in progress. There will be a video on that in the next couple of weeks. I have my Turo car sharing masterclass that will walk you through all of the questions you have on Turo, but I have answered a few of y'all's questions here today. And if you want a EIDL grant or a PPP loan, but you do not qualify for those two programs, I highly encourage you to look at some local or private options, as there are a lot of grants that are being distributed through those avenues. Like always, you guys, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have anything to add, then leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.